stream to the default channel. See if that works. Yeah, it seems it works, but I don't know like fucking how to.
Once it's over, you can probably split it off into its own video. I mean,
Yeah. It's all good. I just want to make sure that people see this shit, cause the fuck is going on?
just post the link in the chat.
Yeah, I'm gonna post it in the chat in a second. Fucked up. By the way, Andrew, what happened with your GoToMeeting stuff? Did you just leave?
No, I'm still in here. You never made me the presenter. When I
Oh,
closed it,
okay.
you had to make me presenter again.
I just made you a presenter again. Should be able to see that stuff. Yeah, sorry guys, we had some connectivity issues going on here. I don't know what the hell happened, but we're back. I had to kill.
Do you want me to stream?
No, it's good. It's back. Yeah.
Up and down.
Well, let's do this. Like if it gets bad again, then we'll switch to you, Andrew,
Alright.
so you can stream it. So guys, you can stay on this channel or stay generally on our cafe, and we should be able to get over it. I just for fucking safety sake, I just gonna kill my camera, so that maybe that's gonna help. Because I don't know what's going on. Like this is the first time happening. I haven't changed anything in the system. Haven't changed any settings. I do like to experiment with shit, but normally it just goes really well, and all of a sudden it just started acting up. I had some weird Wi-Fi issues today and weird connectivity issues, so maybe I just gonna bluntly blame it on Time Warner Cable and their merger with like this fucking new company. So I'll just blame it on that. But anyways, enough of that. I wish I had my soundboard ready to fucking entertain you with some juicy sounds, but I don't. So let's get back to it. Let's get back to why people came to this show and why people came to watch this. And it's you, dude. It's my buddy.
Oh man,
My
don't put
buddy
it that
Nick.
way.
All right, so there was one serious question that everyone had in their mind is how do you manage to be so ripped while eating cookies and ice cream? And I really want to know the answer.
Oh my god. I don't know, man. Go to the gym with Mache. He'll show you what's up. I don't know how to answer that, Mache.
uh,
Well, we did go to the gym a lot.
yeah,
Like
we did.
when
That's
it
true.
was you and me for a while, and then like Aaron was there, but Aaron was always way too cool for school.
No, Aaron would just like come in completely glamorous, like fucking
Mm,
supermodel. Like you're like a spud, like a Spudnik. We call
mm-hmm.
you
The
Spudnik.
Sputnik. Yeah.
You're like ripped and like very very different. But Aaron is like a superhuman. He's like a walking god. I think. I think that's what's up. I think that's
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
I think it's a pretty
I would
accurate
agree with that.
description, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Aaron is one of a kind. But anyway, so Nick Gindraux, for anyone who's listening, for anyone who might be listening to this later, before they get all weirded out, is a senior concept artist over at Naughty Dog. You worked on Uncharted 4 um, and The Last of Us, and
Mm.
some other stuff that we obviously cannot talk about. um, I want to talk about briefly. There's a couple topics we could go through.
Sure.
I like to talk about education, but if you want to talk about something else, I mean, this is one of
Yeah.
the formats we
Oh,
have
we can.
here is just like fucking doing it as easy as possible. So, um, yeah. So let's continue where we left off, and we
Yeah,
left
definitely.
off. You've been teaching recently a little bit, and I want to kind of hear more about that and your experiences with it. And let's start. You're at Brainstorm with James Pake and
Hmm.
John Park right now, right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's yeah, it's an awesome school. It's in Burbank, and they offer standalone courses for anyone who wants to supplement their learning, I guess. So it's like made up of a lot of different types of students. There's some people that are working professionals. There's
Mm-hmm.
some people that are already going to like a accredited university and they're trying to get extra classes, or it's somebody that's just looking for alternate uh you know modes of education. So anyway, it's a good facility, and definitely like working over there. I get to like, my class is before John Park's class, so I always get to chat with John for a little bit, and he's always killing it. So it's always nice to touch base with him.
Yeah,
Um,
John is a beast.
yeah, man, I can't keep up. Like, he just keeps going and going.
Yeah, John is. You jumped on that ship with the when he started those sketch challenges, and
Yeah, man. I tried. Like, for a while I was, like, for a while I wanted to just focus on, doing more personal stuff and doing some sketches and stuff like that. And, when I saw John doing them, I was like, oh man, like, I really should start doing some more personal work again. And yeah, I guess it turned into a thing where just, John would be posting stuff, and then the whole crew, like John Baroob and Jonathan Bach, and
yeah,
like Dylan Cole, and like all those guys started posting stuff. And
the savages.
yeah, and I was like, damn, like, it was like super inspiring to see, because everybody was just kind of jumping on a topic, and it was really fun because everybody had a different take on the topic.
Mm-hmm.
Because you didn't have any time to look at what anyone was working on, and every single time it's like we would see something different, like completely different. Everybody always had a different take on whatever the topic was, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was definitely a really fun learning experience, and just going home and then forcing myself to sketch at night, after work, and trying to get it done before the next day, before they come up with a new topic. It was always like
It's
a
fucking
race to,
exhausting.
like, yeah, dude. And yeah, for a while it's like I was able to kind of keep up, but lately I got kind of slammed with some work, so uh I wasn't able to keep up, but I'm gonna have to start it up again.
Mm. Well, we've mentioned this, and how did you end up, teaching with John? I mean, they have a fucking amazing setup over there. I remember when John and James started the whole brainstorm thing, and I was there. I was maybe not there physically, but I've seen sort of like where it started, and it's pretty amazing what they've built. Their school, they have offices in Burbank right now, right? As
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned. Yeah, and I'm yet to visit their studio. I actually gonna do this very soon, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
get my laptop there. I'm gonna do Art Cafe at the Brainstorm very
Oh,
soon.
nice.
Yeah, um, but I'm curious, like how we ended up, working with those guys and teaching for Brainstorm.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, maybe a year ago, I think, John and James, actually, they just casually mentioned, like, oh, like, would you be interested in teaching a class at Brainstorm? And at the time I was teaching at Otis, which is, a lot farther away from where I live. And Burbank being a little bit closer, and also, the chance to work with a lot of these other instructors, I was like, oh man, that sounds really interesting. And, I heard a lot of good things about the school. They were telling me all the students are, dedicated, and, they're always bringing their A game. And yeah, it was something that I wanted to be involved in. So I went ahead and let them know that I was interested. So yeah, so I teach a class called World Building 2, and
Ooh,
I know it sounds like it's like we're creating reality.
are you
No, it's
creating alternate realities, dude?
Yeah, but I mean, it's just kind of like a basic kind of environment design course. So it's kind of a crash course on,
Hmm.
just creating images, basically, like narrative scenes that involve an environment.
Yeah, it's pretty intense and it's pretty interesting because not many of you guys know, but Nick is like he's barely 18. He just started painting like a year ago, and now he's a stud.
Oh my God, Mache.
No, I dude, but honestly, I remember. Well, you joined Naughty Dog when I was in Potato Land
Hmm.
for like a
Oh yeah,
year.
you were away.
Yeah, I was away,
Um,
and you joined you and it was you and John Sweeney, right? You
mhm.
guys joined pretty much the same
Yeah,
time or around the same time.
I think I joined probably like 6 months after John.
Okay.
Um, yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, I joined up. Yeah, I think it was 6 months after John.
For me, it's really interesting because I remember the kind of art you were doing when you were there when
Hmm.
I came back
It was
and
really bad.
not that bad, dude. You got hired at Naughty Dog. You don't get hired at Naughty
Oh
Dog
man,
for being
dude,
bad.
like sometimes I'll look back to some of the old stuff and I'm like, oh my God, like I can't believe that like I was working like that. Like when you look at all your old stuff, and you're like, damn, like I probably shouldn't have done that or probably shouldn't have done this, and like I don't know, it's great. I mean, I definitely learned a lot, like
Hmm.
especially since I was working with all those guys, and I was able to like ask them questions and like get feedback and all that, because I mean it was tough. Like when I first started working there, it was yeah, I was just terrified. I thought I was gonna get fired like any second.
No, they from what I remember, and fuck, it's been like 2 years now since I left Naughty Dog. It's fucking the time is flying so fast.
Yeah.
But from what I can tell, is like once you get hired, it's like you have to really try to be fired. Because the hiring process is so fucking long.
That's pretty long, yeah.
It takes like
But
months.
yeah, but I mean, like when you start a new job or something, you can't help but to think like, oh, I better do a good job.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I
of
mean?
course.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, when I joined for the first 2 weeks, no one was talking with me. Like I was just sitting there and doing work, and nobody would check in. Nobody would do anything. I was like,
Right.
"What the hell? Am I getting
Yeah, it
fired
was probably
soon?"
way different, right? When I remember, like Aton was telling me the time, when it was like back when Shaddy was there, right? Like it was probably way different than what it's like now.
It was a little different. It wasn't much different. It was just a little different for sure. But yeah, it's just like yeah, you have to really try. You have to really try to get fired because like the whole process that they have, they vet you for so many months that they know by the time that you get hired, they already know like you're good. They've done like millions of interviews. Like all of the concept guys already know you and vet for you as well. So it's like, yeah, like but it is scary. It is scary.
Yeah,
But the
I mean,
reason,
although mine was a little different though, because I started as a contract worker, so
oh,
like I wasn't hired on full time right away, so I was on contract for a bit, and being on contract, like your contract can end whenever. So I mean, it was mainly just that was kind of like freaking me out.
well, yeah, but you were killing it though. So like everyone was, we were kind of fucking with you a little bit there. It's like
A little
a
bit,
little
man.
bit.
You guys mess with me so much.
Remember that time when I used the duct tape like on you and basically duct tape you to the
Oh
chair?
yeah, you taped
Yeah.
me to the chair. I was like stuck to the chair like a mummy.
Fucking
And
Aton sent me that video recently. But anyways, yeah, you were killing it. Like you were already good when you joined. But the funniest thing for me, well, not the funniest, but the most impressive thing, and I kind of, I want to, you'll see where I'm going with this. But I could see you're really interested in learning. You weren't just like, oh, I already got this job and I'm just gonna sit there and kind of do what I'm expected to do. You were just like all over the place, picking behind shoulder, asking questions all the time. We had that period of time where, like, when we started doing moto and you would ask
Mm.
like millions of questions and would just go back and forth, and
Yeah.
then you would do some fucking crazy shit in Moto, like, whoa, what's going on here, you know?
Yeah, after asking you like a million times, you're like you're like, dude, just figure it out on your own. I'm like, God damn it, Jay, you're like right here, help me, please. But yeah, man, like I don't know. I mean, I think that's the cool part about working in a space with other people because I feel like I spend a lot of time, like you said, like I'll like look over and see what Aaron's working, and I'm like, dude, like how did you do that? Like you have to show me. And then he'll like go through the layers. I'm like, oh my god, like I would have never thought to like do it like that. Or
Yeah.
like, for you, like with you, for instance, when you started using I remember when you were doing some of those like helmet designs in Moto, I was always like how did like how did you make the shader like that? Like how did you do that? And thankfully like you were there to be like, oh dude, it's like this easy. You just drag this and that's it. I'm like, and then I would feel like an idiot.
Yeah, I would do that. I was an absolute ass.
For good reason though. That's the mache. That's the potato experience.
But see, one of the things that was really cool is that like it was to all of you guys, you and Aton and Aaron and everyone. You guys were always focused on improving and getting something done. It wasn't just like, oh, I already got this job and it's going pretty well.
Right.
Um, one of the other things I wanted to ask you before I get back to the teaching stuff
Sure.
is you what have you been doing before you joined Naughty Dog? Because I remember you had some interesting stories there. Like who
Yeah.
found you, why you got hired at Naughty Dog, like what was the route you were going through
Yeah. I
to
mean, if
get
I were
there?
to go like, I guess, I don't, which way in the timeline should I go? Should I go like backwards or basically from when I
I would
started?
say
Like,
like the moment you were in the art school and you
yeah.
were, if I remember it correctly, you said you were in the art school and kind of fucking around and didn't know what the hell
Y-
until you met Shaddy. Was that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so out of high school, like I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was when I was 18 years old, I thought that I was gonna, or at least I didn't think I actually was going to be enrolled in UC Riverside, so a University of California, and I remember at that time I was like I was gonna major in business or something like that, and then I remember at the time I was like, what am I doing? Like, is this what I actually want to do? And from there, uh, yeah, I remember seeing like some stop motion animation films at the time, and I remember seeing like a kind of behind the scenes thing, and I remember like thinking to myself like how do these people like how do I work in this field, like these people that are creating art for like entertainment. And anyway, like with the little research that I had done, like
Mm-hmm.
I I found the Art Institute, um, and at the time, like I was really bad at at art, so like I didn't really have too many choices in terms of art schools. So I basically went to the one that would just accept me because my portfolio consisted basically of like I was just copying images of like magazines, like that level, like not very. I had no idea, and I remember when I started school, I sort of did a little more research on my own, trying to find out like what it takes to get a job,
Yeah.
doing art for entertainment. And anyway, so I took a few classes, and I remember there was a class that was offered up, and it was taught by Shadi, Shadi Spati, and this was around in like maybe to the 2008 or 2009.
He was teaching
And
at the Art
yeah, so
Institute.
Shadi was teaching at the Art Institute, and I remember like I saw his name, and I was like, oh, like that sounds familiar. And I remember I like looked him up, and I was like, oh man, he was like one of the concept artists on Uncharted and Uncharted 2. And I remember my one of my friends was playing it at the time, and I was like, wow, like how, like this guy's crazy. Like, how do I take his class? So anyway, I signed up for the class. I took his class. It was awesome. I learned a lot. Like, he definitely was one of those teachers that was like super straight up. He would just like tell you like it is.
Mm.
Because I was really bad at the time, and I remember I was like, trying to get him to look at my work, and he was like really honest. He's like, dude, yeah, maybe don't do what you're doing, and he would give me advice, and I would try to follow that advice. And I remember he like highly encouraged like going outside and painting, and there was a time actually that we uh, let's see. I remember I wanted to go plein air painting, and I like made a post on Facebook, and like nobody responded to it. And I remember like I was like, oh, all right, well, I guess I'm just gonna go by myself. And then all of a sudden, like Shaddy commented on it. He's like, hey man, like I'll meet you there. I was like, damn, that was cool. Like my teacher. I don't know how cool that is. Maybe it's not that cool to have your teacher
It's pretty
like
cool.
be the only one to
But
like.
Shaddy's cool, so
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so we went painting, and then after we were like painting outside, we took our laptops out and all that, and then he was like, "Oh, um, do you want to do this like as like a weekly thing?" Because at the time he was like, I want to start getting better as well, so like I kind of want to go painting more often. So I was like, "Hell yeah, man! Like I'm down. Let's do that." So from there we started painting, and we actually made like a little kind of painting group, and it was like me, Shaddy, and then Shaddy brought Aton along, and then there was another guy named Tony Weinstock. He's awesome. He works in concept art as well. And then John started coming along because John was Aton's friend at the time, and yeah, we had like a bunch of people joining. Like Izzy came along with us, and yeah, I mean, it was an amazing time for me because I was able to finally meet all these people, and all these people were people that I only knew of like from the internet,
yeah.
and only getting to meet them in person was amazing because they were, they they were all also really cool people,
Yeah.
like they weren't just dudes that like to, sit inside all day and just be in front of a monitor,
Like
like
me.
they're yeah, underground, no sun. Um, but I mean, it was cool because like we all liked going out and like, go hiking and doing fun things together. But at the same time, we all shared that interest of wanting to get better and all that. So like from there, like I was still at the Art Institute at the time, and then I remember Shaddy and all the guys were telling me like, oh hey man, like if you're really serious about doing this, like you don't have to go to Art Institute to do this. And I mean, it was a big decision for me at the time because I was maybe like 19 years old or maybe 20, and I was like, man, like I guess I should quit this school. So I ended up leaving, and I was like, oh, maybe I can get into Art Institute. I mean, Art Center in
Hmm.
Pasadena, because like Shaddy was recommending like, oh, if you were to go into this field, like I think Art Center would be like a really good school to get into. So I remember I put together a quick portfolio from some of the work I had done from the Art Institute, and I remember I went to Art Center and like showed it to them, and they were like, yeah, maybe come back in a year. Like we're not even gonna look at this because it was so bad. And I was like, oh my God, and I felt like an idiot. I was like, oh God, like all right, so
We wanna help you, but only when you're good already. Like
yeah,
what the
exactly. But I needed it. I needed that honesty. You know what
right.
I mean? It like then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna get really serious, and then I'm gonna use this year, 1 year of time to like get better. So then,
Yeah.
that's when we started painting even more often with the group, and then, just always asking them questions, stuff like that, and then finally a year later, I was able to reapply with a new portfolio, and thankfully I was able to get started, and I was able to enroll at Art Center. Um, and actually, like right before I started school, I had my first job actually doing concept art, and I did work for an indie game company called 24 Carat Games, and they came out with a game called Retrograde, which was the game that I was working on at the time, and that was a huge learning experience as well. Like I definitely I felt like I screwed up a lot, but
Hmm.
thankfully they were understanding enough to kind of always give me like a second chance. and
Right.
and it was like a chance for me to kind of prove that I can do the job. And there were definitely times where I'm like, oh God, like I think I'm gonna get fired. Like I don't think they like this image. And like looking back, I was like looking at some of the images recently because I was actually showing somebody some of the stuff that I had done for my first job, or actually I was showing my class at Brainstorm. And looking back, I was like, man, it was terrible, dude. And but like I worked for them maybe 2 or 3 months, and after 3 months, like I looked at the work at the end, and it was a lot better than when I had started. So it was like a good, again, it was just a good learning experience. And then
Right.
yeah, so then Art Center happened, went to Art Center, and then after a few terms at Art Center, um, I wanted to try and see if I could, start working. And I remember at the time Shaddy had, um, what's it called? Shaddy had started his kind of his studio, One Pixel Brush.
Yeah.
And I remember I worked for him for a few months. Uh, and then after that, I felt like I had the confidence to get another portfolio ready for Naughty Dog. And then I was able to kind of put that together. Um, and yeah, thankfully I was able to start working for Naughty Dog after I had applied.
So let me ask you this: why do you think? Because for me, it's kind of interesting. And it's not only Art Center that does that. A lot of fine arts schools, I don't know if in the US, but in Europe, definitely, they turn down your applications if your work is not good enough. Like they
Yeah,
presume your work has to be good enough for you to apply, which, we'll get into this from the
sure.
teaching perspective. Why do you think they do that?
I mean, I think they do that to uphold a certain standard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, to be fair, like, I mean, if they accepted like everyone, then you're not gonna like you're not ready for whatever it is they're trying to teach you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like because if I had started school straight out of Art Institute and I started school at Art Center, I would not have made the most out of my education at that time because I wouldn't have been ready. Like
Mm.
I wouldn't like because I didn't have the understanding yet. For like those more advanced courses. It's like I couldn't learn how to render something if I didn't know how to draw properly yet. You know what I mean? It was that kind of a
Right.
thing where I had to like learn all my fundamental stuff, and then finally once I knew that, then I was like, okay, now I think I'm ready to you know to move on to this next school with with
Sorry.
those standards.
Because the only reason I'm asking about this is because like I feel there is a disconnect between like just how to get to that point where, all right, you're good enough for us to actually teach you to be a professional.
Yeah.
It seems to me like there is like there aren't many options for you to get really prepared, because like you
Yeah.
mentioned, the Art Institute,
Mm.
which I assume wasn't the best option for you.
Like not for what I wanted to do. Like, I
Right.
mean, that school, it's like they prepare people for, like game design or like, careers in like animation. But when it came to concept art and like visual development type of stuff, they just didn't really have the courses for it. So, that kind of forced me to try to find a way to learn it, and then like a lot of the time it was like me just trying to figure it out, but then at the same time I was also able to ask, Shaddy questions and stuff like that. And I think I was also taking classes at CDA. Actually, I found out about CDA while I was at the Art Institute.
Mm.
Because I remember I was like going online, I was like looking for other courses to take, and I remember seeing an ad for CDA, and that was in Pasadena, which was close to where I lived at the time.
Mm.
And I was like, oh man, this is awesome,
It's Kevin's
and
Chen school, right?
CDA, yeah, Kevin Chen's school,
Yeah.
and that was set up a lot like Brainstorm is set up, and it was it was amazing because I was finally able to like take the classes that I wanted. Um, you know, more specific to what I was trying to do, like in terms of my career. Um, and yeah, I mean, I was thankful that those classes were available.
Yeah, I mean CDA is for those who don't know, it's Kevin Chan's school. It's in Pasadena. Yeah, it's very similar to Brainstorm. But for me, like one of the reasons I'm getting into this is like it seems to me like Art Center, and I've been talking about Art Center. I was actually having Tim Flattery on my
Hmm.
stream before, who was one, I think, the chair of the entertainment design.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
he was a chair when I was there actually, I think.
cool. That's awesome, actually. But it seems like, yeah, as you said, like they want to uphold the um, the certain standard. So when you join, like, because from what I heard, the expectations that are thrown upon you when you're
Yeah.
there is like really high. Like you're
Yeah.
basically working your ass off to complete all the tasks and everything,
Yeah,
right?
dude, it was insane. Like, I mean, I've never been in a space like it was like hardcore. I was like, what? Like their basic drawing course was like if you showed up and there was like a slight crease on the paper, they would like like everybody would have their papers lined up and the teacher would walk by and if the paper was slightly crinkled, he would like turn it around and be like, "Yeah, I'm just not going to look at this." And then you would keep moving on cuz like they were expecting us to be professional. Like you
Right.
never turn in something that's like not ready or something that it looks like you didn't care about.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that I think when I was talking with Tim and I was talking with Shadi and now talking with you is, we can all agree like if you need that discipline to become a professional, Art Center is going to be probably the only place
Yeah.
in US to do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and to be honest, like I learned a lot of like valuable skills going to schools, like I don't regret going to any of these schools, like even the Art Institute because like it all kind of like led to, my learning,
Yeah.
like me trying to figure it out. So like I don't regret it, but you definitely learn a lot of like professional skills and social skills, uh, being surrounded by your peers and reporting to a teacher, who's gonna give you critiques and feedback and based on how you take that feedback, and they were really teaching you how to like take criticism, because they were very like unapologetic, very
Mm,
honest, which is what I needed at the time. Like it would like I don't know if I could have done it on my own, really.
sure. I mean, you it's like I guess it's personal experiences for everyone, like for
Yeah.
you going through those experiences, and you could argue, and I actually agree with that, is when you're faced with adversities and basically you have to deal with problems and deal with like things that are not going the right way, that's when the real true character comes out, and
Right.
if you have that character, you'll go through it and become really successful at the end of the day,
Yeah.
but not everyone has that, and I've noticed that there's this weird disconnect. It seems to me, and I don't know if you agree with me, like when you look at the entertainment industry, it's
Uh-huh.
one of the biggest industries out there. It's one of the industries that makes probably one of the most money. Apart from I don't know, maybe banking or something. But it's one of
Yeah.
the biggest industries for sure in terms of like how much revenue is being made over a year,
Sure.
uh, in total, right? That's including film, games,
Yeah, just
theater, like
all
yeah,
entertainment.
all
Yeah.
entertainment, right? And yet, when you look at, let's say, ArtStation or any of the forums that we are, pretty often looking at, right? It seems
Yeah.
m- most of the faces you see there are like the same people, right?
Hmm.
Like it seems so niche compared to how many people are actually involved in this industry. And one of the
Right.
reasons I'm talking about this is because like I feel, and it's I've seen this on the stream a couple of times too. Like some of the people who are watching Art Cafe
Hmm.
have mentioned that a couple of times. It's like you get in those art schools that have they have teachers that have no idea what the fuck they are doing. They've never
Yeah.
been working or haven't been working in the industry for like ages, right? They
Yeah.
throw this bullshit idea that you have to have, um, a degree because otherwise you're not gonna get anywhere, which
Right.
we all know. Like degree doesn't matter in this
No.
industry. Nobody's looking at your papers
No.
ever.
Yeah, I don't think there's been a time when anyone's ever asked me to see a
Yeah.
degree, like yeah, and by the way, yeah, like I never finished like my degree. So at the moment I don't have a degree.
Yeah. And you know, and it's very difficult to find out like that there's other things going on. You know, like for you it was Shaddy, right? I mean, Shaddy was kind of your conduit to getting to really know what art industry is about and actually going the
Yeah.
right path. But
Yeah. No, I
imagine,
got. Yeah.
would you be an artist if you haven't met Shaddy? You know, if you haven't taken his
Yeah.
class, like
Yeah. I
that.
mean, it's hard to say, like, because I mean, your life could take so many turns, right?
Yeah,
Like you'll never know, right? But like,
of
as long as
course,
the desire is there, right, you're gonna find a way to reach your goal, right? Like in retrospect, yeah, it's like if I didn't meet him, maybe I would have met someone else, right? Or
yeah, for
maybe,
sure.
or maybe I would have done something else, and like, uh, yeah, but like a number of things could have happened, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to say whether or not, like,
Because
I,
I remember you told me this when I was still at Naughty Dog, and I think you and Eitan actually, you guys told me this, like, and I think you guys were teaching at Otis, and
yeah,
you were going to like different workshops and whatsoever, and
mhm.
you guys said like there's so many kids that think they're the shit, you know, but like when you look at the work that they do, it's so horrible, like they're never gonna get anywhere, and it's like my question here is that like that's what I wanted to lead this whole conversation. It's like, how do you talk to those kids? You know, how do you get to a person that I really want to be an artist. I just don't know
Yeah,
better. So
yeah,
I just gonna assume from my surroundings, which is this shitty school with this fucking idiot teacher.
right,
Um, and a lot of those kids get like just brainwashed to this idea of like I have to have a degree. I have to have a degree. I remember when I
yeah,
came here to United States, dude. I was
hmm,
working for Naughty Dog, and
yeah,
you can ask Shaddy. I was thinking like you can ask Shaddy and Andrew Kim because I was really considering maybe I should sign up
for a
for Art
school,
Center, you know?
yeah,
And Shaddy was like,
yeah,
"What the fuck are you talking about?"
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like
yeah. Yeah, I mean, so your question is like,
because you found your avenue. You found, you know, you it's let's put it this way: you're prolific enough of a person that you just like you have an idea, you want to do this, and you're not gonna give up on the first chance, right? So
right,
when the opportunity comes, when the right person or right event happens, you're gonna
yeah,
grab it by the balls and run with
yeah,
it
yeah,
in a way,
basically. I
right?
mean, yeah, like, well, because at the time, dude, like when I was like taking classes at the Art Institute, like Shaddy was one of those only teachers that, I when I saw his work, I was like, holy shit, like I want my work to be like this, and I was like, this is my opportunity. Like I have to learn from this person because
Yeah,
I don't have any other option. Like I was like, I have to. And uh so I took advantage of it. Like I took his class like 3 or 4 times. Like even when the class was done, I was like, dude, like can I take your class again? And I was able to like always sit in and like just keep learning from it because that was the only thing I had, the only resource I had at the time.
yeah,
And I mean it was a good resource at that, but yeah, I was super lucky to have that.
yeah. Well, yeah, and that's true. But like now, let's imagine a kid that is at you know whether it's art institute. There's like so many art schools out there that you don't
Yeah,
even
there's a
like.
lot.
There's like fucking no name Pasadena, whatever, right?
Yeah.
There's just like so many of them, and most majority of them are scams, basically.
Mm.
Um, how would you reach out to those kids? You know, because like
Yeah.
there's I, I I'm- I have this experience where you know there's a couple of people there that like when you look at the uh, like all of your students, right?
Hmm.
When students sign up for your class or course or workshop, um, there's probably 5-10% of them who are really dedicated, and no matter what you're
Yeah.
gonna say, they're gonna just fucking run with it and
Yeah,
make it
exactly.
happen, right? There's
Yeah, but for the
another
rest,
yeah,
yeah.
there's maybe another 10-20% that if you talk with them enough, you know,
Mm.
like if you
Yeah.
just encourage them enough, they'll pick up and just run it with it. You know, I had a couple of
Right.
those students in my courses, and it's kind of amazing. Like once you nudge them in the right direction, and
Hmm.
just say a few right things,
Yeah.
they just like propel, and I've seen
Yeah.
them in like many classes, like seeing your students doing that. I've seen Aton students doing that,
Yeah.
or even just
Yeah.
Shaddy's, right? Shaddy just made like an army of awesome artists basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it like yeah, I remember like when Aton and I were teaching at Otis, it's like you could tell like there were some students that, I remember when we first started and there were some kids in the class that were probably in their second year of college and I remember we were teachers for them all the way up until they when they graduated. And then so that was like 3 years. So we
Hmm.
were with them for like 3 years and to see the amount of growth and a lot of it does come from them asking questions all the time
Right.
and then me and Aton trying to make ourselves available to them to answer those questions as best we could. um and then not only that, but they took it seriously, right? Like
Yeah.
they would ask a question and be like, oh, how do I do this? I'm like, oh, okay, maybe study this or that. And then they would come back the next day or the next week and they had done all the research. They put the effort in. And that's really what matters, right? Because sometimes you tell someone something and then like they ask you a specific question like, oh, how do I do this? And then you tell them and then the next week it's like they they didn't do it and you're like, well, why didn't you do what I recommended? And then maybe they thought they had a better way, but they're still struggling.
Hmm.
And maybe that's the difference when someone asks you for help and you try to help them, but then for whatever reason they don't want your help.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever experienced that where like
Yeah,
it
I
seems
think
like someone.
it might be
Yeah.
ego. A lot of people just don't want to admit that they are making mistakes, and it's just like the fact that, well, you have to make mistakes. So if you're not making mistakes, you're not growing.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's two layers to this. One is just like, well, for one, like how do you reach out to kids who are they're just don't know better, and how do you convince them that, well, whatever your teacher has been telling you, that's absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
Um,
But I mean, I think that it just comes from like you have to do your own research. Like you have to. It's hard for someone to like tell you what it is. Like I mean, you have to do the research to find the right person to ask. You know what I mean?
right.
Like it has to be someone that you trust. Like you have to do like kind of research on that person and be like, oh, like does this person know what they're talking about? And it's like, well, if yes, then okay, now I need to go ask them the questions rather than someone else. Like
Mm,
I remember at school there would be teachers that are like telling the students things, and I still look back to this day and I remember things that those teachers have told me, and it was like totally wrong. And like uh, I just and at the time I just believed it because I was like, oh, that's the teacher, so I'm just gonna believe them.
yeah.
But I had to do my own research and like I had to like go and look it up for myself. And for anyone out there who you know like you just have to go and find it. And today like all the resources are actually pretty easily
Yeah, it's
available. I
so
mean,
easy
you've got
for
like
sure.
Learn Squared and all that. You can do the mentorships.
Hell yeah, dude. Let's square it. Let's square it.
I mean, no, but seriously, because like something like that, like you know, it gives you an opportunity to ask that person those kinds of questions. Like
Yeah.
uh, that one-on-one time, which I think you really need if you don't know yourself. Um,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, one of the things that's always intriguing to me is, trying to understand this predicament where, let you talk to a person, like if I was the person to meet you, instead of Shadi, right? But by the
yeah,
time I would meet you, I would be like, "Oh, your work is shit. Fucking get better." That's probably
but
what the conversation would be
yeah,
about.
but still, even if that was a conversation, I think that it
It would
also depends on how
resonate
you
with you.
take it,
I'm
right?
pretty sure it would
Yeah,
work for you.
yeah,
But for me, it's like intriguing. A lot of kids just like, I don't know, like they just don't want to listen. And I don't know if you have that experience where, there might be jaded by the fact that, oh, I have this teacher, so I should listen to him, not this random guy who's making
yeah,
impossibly awesome work.
right.
Um, I don't know what that is. I'm actually curious. The only reason I'm asking is I'm just curious if you know.
Yeah,
personally from experiences, and talking about you specifically teaching. There's another question I want to ask you about that, but
sure.
I'm pretty sure now as you're teaching and you've been at Otis, you had students there. Now you have students here at
At
Brainstorm,
brainstorm.
right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you meet like different characters, and it's even more important or better because like you meet them actually in person, because it's
Yeah.
a physical school. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious
Yeah.
if you actually have those experiences, like damn, like yeah,
Yeah.
I meet those fuckers who just don't want to listen.
I've definitely had, like I've probably been teaching maybe like 3 or 4 years now, and yeah, I mean, I definitely will say that. Yeah, I've definitely run into those times where, like I would literally tell people like, certain exercises. I'm like, oh, try this out. Like it's an exercise. Like, uh,
Hmm.
just try it out for homework. But then, they come in the next week and it's totally not what I recommended. But then they're still asking like, well, why isn't it good? And it's like, well, you didn't do the exercise. Like you didn't like I'm trying to tell you what helped me. Like I can only tell you what helped me, and it's like, hopefully it also works out for you where,
Right.
you know, like, because we do have that shared experience. Like, everyone out there, like, including yourself, it's like we all started somewhere, and I'm going to tell you all the things that I had learned to help the next person.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't understand, I guess, sometimes when, I'm giving people advice and then maybe they just don't want to follow it. And, they come back the next week still wondering like, wait, why? Like, I still don't understand. It's like, well, just try it out. Like, and
It's like
I
it's like following a tutorial, but like,
yeah,
oh, I'll try to follow this 3ds Max
yeah,
tutorial using freaking ZBrush.
right. Yeah, or like sleeping with the book under your pillow, right? Or it's like,
Yeah.
oh, magically it'll happen. But I think a lot of the time it's like, I'm just trying to give advice, and it's
Hmm.
up to you to either use it or not. Like,
Yeah, of course. I mean, you cannot. You, I mean, there are obviously like ways to try to convince people
yeah,
to do the right thing, but I'll tell you this, like, and might be encouraging thing to know for people who are listening and maybe like, like I'm kind of that, so I mean I'm a shitty person. No, I actually do the same thing. I mean, pretty sure you were not listening to all of the advice you had going
yeah,
your way either. You were
yeah. I
just
mean, you're selective.
stubbornly, yeah,
Yeah,
you're like selectively stubborn about certain things that you're convinced about, and then quickly realize like that's not a case. I remember when I took apprenticeship for Ash's class, the UI design, and
yeah,
he told me specifically, don't use Octane, just fucking, use exactly what I did in the class. It's gonna be so easy for you. And I was
yeah,
like, yeah, right, fucking,
yeah.
I'm
But you
just gonna,
fought it, right? Yeah.
and
No,
then,
but I think you're onto something because that's actually what it comes down to. And what I've found with the most is that a lot of people have a really hard time learning new workflows. Like
yeah,
using a program that they're not used to, and they're like, "Oh wait, but I could do it in this other program better." Like you think it's better, and you don't even want to try the other thing because you think you know better. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
When like you're just saying, like Ash is probably recommending something and you're like, no, like I'm not gonna do it that way. But I'm sure did eventually you tried it out, right?
yeah, and it worked.
Yeah.
It was easy.
It's like as simple as that, where it's like, oh shit, like I should really listen. Like this guy who it's like you're taking that class from that guy, and it's like, well, how do you do it? And it's like, okay, and he's gonna tell you, oh, I do it like this. And if you sit there saying like, oh, well, I have a better way, I'm gonna do it my own way, then it's like, all right, well, then why are you asking?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's kind of funny because like we all are stubborn, and I try to tell this as much as I can. I don't know if you do that. I'm pretty sure you do, but when students approach you, like it's just so easy to get discouraged. Like, oh, I failed. Like it's not for me, and I shouldn't be doing it. Like, well, it's not really that. Like you just have to keep trying, and the failure
Yeah,
is the way. Like you really have to, face the reality that majority of the things you're gonna happen to you while you're learning it's just they're not gonna go well. It's gonna
Yeah,
go
and that's
actually
not gonna
pretty
be
bad for
perfect.
you. It's like when you look at kids when they grow up, when you see how they learn to walk or run or
Right.
whatever they learn to do, they fail for months and eventually it just happens. It's the same thing with art. You know, it's
Yeah.
you know, for some people there might be a person that has, you know, the right circumstances. They are born
Yeah.
in this in a specific environment that is encouraging, and you know,
Right.
the life and the, you know, everything that is around you influence you in a way that you might be more motivated,
Right.
or your genome might be constructed in a way that, you know, you're gonna
Right.
be eating ice cream and become really ripped at the same time. um, but the reality is like, apart from that, that's obviously means how fast you're gonna progress, but you're never gonna progress if you're not fail. You know, there
Yeah. Yeah.
there
Of
are no
course.
people. I don't know anyone who was awesome at art to begin with. You know, we all
Yeah.
start
No, it
from
doesn't
like
happen.
absolute garbage, like the garbage you see
Yeah.
on the screen, um,
Right.
that Andrew is
Ugh.
doing. But yeah, it's like, yeah, there's something here, you know, when thinking about, you know, reaching out to students, and there's like two layers of it. For one, just like, just fucking listen, you know,
Yeah.
just listen. Like, one thing that is, you know, students should be happy about, and I'm saying it with conviction, is that the ways to learn are unlimited. These days, you can find so many resources to learn and become professional. You
Yeah.
don't have to go to a super expensive school. You can pick
Yeah.
up any of the online schools. You can go to like like if you are lucky to be in Los Angeles, you're gonna have a lot of local options like CDA,
Hmm.
like Brainstorm.
Yeah.
If not, you can be anywhere in the world and you can pick up, you know, Learn Squared or CGMA or Nomon, you know. There's so many
Yeah.
options.
Totally.
And now even artists doing Gumroad videos too. There's
Yeah.
like options everywhere. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but at the same time, obviously, you know, because it's so easy to
Hmm.
get that knowledge, there's much more people that are gonna be able to get that knowledge, not only you, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
y- just bear in mind that you're gonna fail, and you just it's funny because like you or me or anyone who's teaching, the way we teach and what we teach is our experiences throughout years and things we've learned not to do and to do
Right.
instead, that you should probably follow if you don't want to make the same mistakes, right? Wouldn't you
Yeah.
agree?
Exactly. It's like, yeah, everything that I'm saying, I'm like, look, like I made this mistake a lot. Like, like try to do it this way. And then when I see people not trying it, I'm like, well, it's like I was making the same exact mistakes. Like this is why I'm saying this, or like this is why we're doing this exercise, or like, things like that, where it's like, yeah, and again, like I always find it when, like when I'm trying to introduce a new workflow or like a
Mm-hmm.
new way to think about something, a lot of people fight it. Like, like they only want to kind of learn one certain thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, constantly change it up. Like, you know, I guess when it comes to like techniques, like we can start talking about that, where it's like, what if you tried painting the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Versus, oh, what if you try to start using 3D and like messing around with it, like stretching it and skewing it, like cropping it, like doing all these other things. And there's so many different ways to work now. And, you can't just be single-minded, like, oh, I'm only going to work this one way and like that's the only way it's done. But, it's like, no, like try everything out. Like there's a purpose for everything. Like
Yeah.
you could like, and you'll learn much more. Like you'll become more broad with your skills if you experiment and try other workflows. And I think the hardest part about learning is probably overcoming that kind of hurdle of like, oh, I'm gonna try this new way. I'm insecure because I might do something really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just have to accept it and be like, oh, well, it's all part of the learning experience. Like it's gonna, of course, like it's your first time trying out this new thing, but you can't arrive at those later steps without doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. It all takes, you know, it's a resilient way of looking at things. It's just you have to grind through it. It's not one of those things where Pretty sure you can agree. Art is not something that you're gonna get results of in matter of couple of tries. You know,
Yeah.
it's something
I mean,
that'll
I
grow on you.
wish, but
Yeah, I mean, there are things and like with the software changes and how it's
yeah,
developing and how much better it gets these days is like yeah, you can probably get really good results with X and Y, and you know it's gonna look pretty decent, but it's gonna be limiting. You know, like you're not gonna be able to create anything you want. You're only gonna be able to create specific things with it. You know,
right.
so yeah, I guess it's really important to sort of like be all open-minded and know that you're gonna face quite a lot of you know obstacles on your way
Yeah,
that you will have to go through because otherwise you're not gonna learn. You know,
right.
and one
Well,
of
yeah,
the
you have to be challenged.
yeah, if you're not challenged, then you know it's yeah, and I want to move into from here. Is like yeah, I'm talking about the challenges. Uh, I've been talking about this quite a lot too. It's the 3D stuff, you know, like how important it is to work in 3D these days. You
Yeah,
know, I don't know if
yeah,
you want to elaborate on
uh,
that a little bit.
yeah, yeah. We can talk about that. I mean, yeah, I mean, I personally think it's a like an awesome resource. I mean, I remember I didn't start using it until I saw you using it actually at work. I mean, I used it a little bit, you know, like a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, but not the way that I saw you using it. And like, I remember it once I started working in 3D, like I realized that there was so many more design possibilities that I wouldn't have come up with on like a 2D surface. And that was me personally, because maybe my brain, you know, it thinks a little differently, but when I use a 3D program, I feel like I'm able to create things that I otherwise wouldn't be able to come up with, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, and like maybe personally, I really like it because it reminds me of, you know, like when I was a kid playing with Legos, right? It's kind of like a similar thing where you get to build things and you get to put things together. You get to like imagine how it works in 3D space. And it kind of forces you to think of, you know, like because it's 3D, you have to think of it all X, Y, and Z, not just, you know, from one angle. And I remember when I was using 3D, I was like trying to design a vehicle, and you know, I remember I was staring at it from a certain angle, and I'm like, oh yeah, that looks like badass from this angle. And then I remember I moved the camera, and I was like, damn, like it looks really bad from the front, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of forces you to make more design decisions where you're like, oh okay, like I need to change the silhouette of the front a little bit, and then overall the design starts becoming more and more refined because you're taking that extra step to think about it in, you know,
Right.
other angles and different ways.
Don't you think it's
So
also the fact that because you're removing some of the foundation in order to create, let's say, a vehicle design, right? So when
yeah,
you're designing a vehicle and you're doing it only with Photoshop or pencils or whatever, you know,
yeah,
if you're only relying on 2D tools, like very traditional way, well, the
yeah,
first thing you have to think about is, well, if the perspective is not right, then you
yeah,
know whatever I
yeah,
do, it's gonna look like shit.
look,
You know, that's
yeah,
let's
exactly,
just make that one clear.
right,
Perspective has to be right, and we
yeah,
all know creating a perspective in 2D is
hmm,
not an easy task, especially if you're working on something that is really complicated.
yeah,
Whereas in 3D, you just build it and it is there. Like you don't have to
yeah,
think about perspective because by default, it's gonna have a right perspective. You know?
yeah, of course,
Don't you
yeah,
think?
and
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. Oh no, I'll let you finish so that I can
Right,
formulate
right.
a better
So
answer.
what I wanted to say here is because you're removing certain blocks from your thinking process, you're freeing up your mind and your
Hmm.
mindset to think about different things in the creation process. You're not
Yeah,
focusing on the foundation of things. You're not focusing on, you know, whether the perspective is going to be right or lighting, because in 3D you can do pretty decent lighting really
right,
easily as well. And you can sort of design it in a
right,
way that, all right, this looks good. It's going to be, you know, a good baseline for me to work with. And what happens is that you're decluttering your mind, you're removing distractions, and now all of a sudden you have all that space in your head that has to be filled out in the creative process because you know creative process is a very intense thing. Like it's
Hmm.
almost as intense as working out. It's just like your
Yeah.
mind gets really, really crazy. Like you can get really
Yeah.
tired by just thinking hard, basically.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I always think I'm gonna get a heart attack when I get like a new assignment. I'm like, oh God, like how am I gonna do this? Jesus, and yeah, you're like firing off like a mile,
Yeah, on all
like 1,000
cylinders.
miles per minute. Yeah, and like
Yeah, and
and like you said, to add on to like the technical aspect, right? Because the 3D kind of removes that worry of, oh, is the perspective right? You don't have to worry about that. You can only worry about maybe the design.
hmm
But at the same time, like to provide like a counter argument is that, for those people that are really good at perspective, because someone's so comfortable with the perspective, they're able to design in the same way because they don't have those limitations like other people might, like myself, like if someone is really good at perspective and they design things 2D, like Scott Robertson, for instance, right? Like
right.
I mean, he uses 3D as well, but he knows perspective so well that he can just worry about design because the technical aspect is already figured out.
Yeah,
Whereas, like myself, if I tried to sit down with a piece of paper and like, attempt to design something, it definitely won't come out as good as whatever Scott Robertson does because I just don't have the technical ability like he does.
yeah, and plus, you just gonna be your brain's gonna be occupied by like how is this perspective? Well,
Right.
is the shapes all
Yeah.
right? Are the shapes correct? Because again, like if you fuck it up, then it's just gonna look good. No, it's just gonna look bad. Sorry, no matter how much you try with the
Right.
look good.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
matter how much you try with the design, right? But once you remove those things with the use of different tools, so with 3D, you basically remove the need to care about perspective. In a way, I mean, you still, because you're designing it, you're still gonna have to know
Yeah.
basics of
Yeah.
perspective, but at least the base of it is already there. But now your
Yeah.
brain
Exactly.
is sort of like free to think about design, and that's what you've mentioned, right? Like
Yeah.
you think about
Yeah.
design in a very different way.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, this actually makes me think of the time, like when I was working on my first job. I remember I was so concerned with the image like not looking bad, that I couldn't focus on even making a good design.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why my images came out really poorly because like my brain was fighting, like it was like, okay, well, I need to make it look like shit. But then at the same time, like I don't know how to design it at the same time because I don't know how to paint very well.
Right.
And and I guess that's when it comes down to like, oh, well, I just need to learn more. Like I need to learn how to get my technical skills up so that I can focus more on designing or like coming up with ideas.
I'll tell you something funny. I just have this epiphany right now. It's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. I just had it right now. I'm pretty sure I was thinking about it before, but like all the pieces connected together as we were talking about it. I
Okay.
remember, gosh, it was like 2005, maybe 2006, where I was thinking
Mhm.
like maybe I should start learning 3D. Like
Right.
it would be so nice to like put together an environment and paint it with 3D. But then I was like this stubborn fucking guy, like it's not a pure form of art. I should paint, and I've realized, that I've said this many times that I never considered myself a designer
Mhm.
up until very recently, where I became so proficient with illustration that I just didn't have to think about it anymore in order to create something
Yeah.
that is decent. And then I
Right.
could
Right.
focus on the design and look into forms and shapes and whatnot. And I just realized that was the reason why, because I was like stubborn and shying away from the idea, like, yeah, you have to be open minded to the tools, you have to be open minded to ideas of learning things instead of just trying
Hmm.
to be stubborn that fuck, like I'm gonna go do this because that's the right thing to do. Like I
Right.
remember in 2004, maybe 2005, there was this big taboo for using photos in your images. Like you would be
Right.
basically shamed online, like, oh, you've used reference, like you're
the
such a
secret
cheater.
the secret concept art police are gonna come out and get you.
Exactly. And then I remember, dude, so I think Craig Mullins did like a breakdown of one of his images. Either he
Mhm.
did or someone found references that he used
Yeah.
for one of his big paintings, like, oh
Mm.
my god, Craig Mullins is using photos, and everyone's like, oh.
Right, where
I think
everyone's
it was
like,
like a moment where it all changed,
right,
like a shift, little shit, like a
like a
little
cultural shift
cultural
where it's like,
shift
oh, this
almost.
is acceptable. Yeah, yeah. Like, like we as a collective group of people, it's like waiting for it to be acceptable. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's
It's
kind of
like,
crazy, isn't it?
yeah, when maybe we were hindering ourselves, maybe for this industry, like maybe for other things it's not relevant. We do stuff like that. So,
Yeah. Surprising, dude. What is the things that
um,
you're thinking about doing next? I mean, we've talked
uh,
about a little bit about school and teaching
yeah,
and 3D. Let me reframe it. Like, is there anything? Because I know you work in 3D now, and
yeah.
you've been doing it ever since. Cool, you design was pretty fucking dope. You know,
Oh, thanks,
I
man.
still fucking like it, dude. Actually,
Thanks.
I'm gonna pull up this piece. You did this spaceport cross section. I really
Yeah.
like what you're doing there, dude. Like those cross sections are pretty good.
Thank, thanks,
I
man.
really enjoyed those. Those are 3D, right? It's Moto stuff.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, Moto. Probably like I don't know, maybe 75 to 80% was modeling, and then the rest is,
Yeah.
like Photoshop tricks and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, like doing those, it's a good exercise for myself because I'm trying to force myself to design more, just design
Hmm.
things and really think it through. So I thought doing an exercise like this would really help me understand, the functionality of like a big facility, like, oh, where's the lobby going to be?
Right.
And then it forces me to think, okay, well, how do people get up to their room or something? Oh, like I need to make a spot for the elevator. Oh, where's the elevator going to go? And then it's like I need to make all these design decisions where it's like, okay, well, that's why buildings are shaped this way, and it makes me realize,
Right.
like for myself, like why things are shaped a certain way, and
Mm.
like, and I was like, I remember I used this example before, but I remember I was designing this building, and I remember I gave it like this giant roof, and it was like, and I was like, this doesn't look right. Like why? Like, and I was designing the rooms on the inside. I'm like, wait, like if I put a room here, there's gonna be no windows. You know what I mean? Like, and then I remember I was like at a hotel once, and in the hotel building, whatever room you're in, there's always a window.
Yeah.
Um, and then so then I was like, oh wait, right, there's rooms on the inside that face a courtyard. And I'm like, oh, that's why a lot of buildings have that negative space, and then but I remember it took me to see it in 3D to realize that, where I was like, oh, like that's why, so that, it's
Yeah.
not just a room with no windows. And then it forced me to make a design decision to be like, okay, well, the inside of this is going to be hollow, you know. So I
Yeah. It
mean
makes you
that's
think about the way you design completely differently, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. I mean, like that was just one of the many examples of like where I came to a realization where I'm like, oh, like I would have never thought of this because I was in 3D. I was able to move the camera around, and like, when I was designing the rooms, I was like, wait, this looks weird. Like, why is this not working? And
Yeah.
then it made me realize that. I'm like, oh, okay, like I need to put a hole in the center of the building.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Well, so what is the next thing for you? Like, do you have anything that you're really excited about trying out and learning, or?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like I've been hearing a lot of things about Octane. I definitely want to try that out.
Oh,
eh,
Octane. Ooh.
I'm also just trying to like learn how to paint better, just
Hmm.
go back to just drawing. Like I am definitely trying to use my free time. Like that's why we mentioned before when ever I see John Park's new images, he's always like posting these awesome painted illustrations, and all those guys like Jonathan Bach and John Barub and Fausto are all doing these like crazy things, and they're just just painting,
Yeah.
and I want to get better at that, in the hopes that it will influence my professional work, like so that I can use techniques that I'm learning from that workflow and apply it to another
Yeah.
workflow.
You're pretty dope at it already. So.
No, man, it's I mean, I definitely want to keep practicing it because
Hmm.
I always struggle with it, and it's always been something I struggled with. And and every time I see those other guys' images, I'm always like, damn, like they're always like one upping me. I'm like I should have done it this way, or should have done it that way, and then it forces me to just do more. So yeah, I mean, I definitely want to just practice more, just painting, like just with the
Yeah.
brushes and Photoshop.
Yeah, it's kind of like weird when you stop doing it at that for a while and you do a little bit of 3D, a little bit of that. It's just like you came back to painting. It's like fuck, how does that look?
Yeah, dude. I was trying to do like a sketch today,
What brush do
and
you
I was like,
use?
and I was doing a sketch, and then I was like, damn, if I had 3D right now, I could figure it out. But then I, w- I'm using it as an exercise to like force myself to like not do it. You know what I mean? I'm
Mm,
like, well, I'm gonna force myself to just try and just draw it, because if I resort back to my other habits, I'm never gonna learn. Like I'm never gonna learn how to do it.
right.
So it's good for me to kind of force myself to just work differently.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn new things constantly too. I might get back to drawing. I think like I had this pretty good run doing the art habit where I was drawing
Yeah.
on paper for
Oh
a
yeah, you're
while.
doing those marker sketches, right? Like those
Yeah,
yeah, those are sick.
fuck, dude, it was so intense to get anything that was to get anything to look good because it was just so rusty. Haven't done it for like years, dude.
Yeah.
It was so intense, but it's also like fuck my fucking ego jumped in like, hey Mache, your reputation is on the line. If you post something shitty, well, you're gone. You're long gone.
Yeah, you're done in this town.
You're done in this town. I agree. Yeah, dude. I might get back to this again. Right now, I'm just like
Yeah.
trying to focus on a little bit of Marvel's designer. I really want to get nailed down on how to create like garments to make them look as natural as possible. Like what
Yeah.
Does. Colin Thomas.
Oh yeah, he put
He's
out some
so
really cool
sick.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I saw the clothing that he made in that program, I was like, "What? Like, dude, you're like a seamstress, you know? It's like he's like a real tailor."
Seamstress.
Or like whatever word to use for what do they call, like a tailor, or yeah, I guess, or like just a fashion designer.
Yeah.
Because I remember looking at him like, dude, like he had to learn how it's actually sewn together, and
Yep.
like learning those materials. And again, like when I look at a program like that, it forces you to think about like, oh, why is it shaped like that? And it's like,
Mm.
oh, because the fabric was cut this way, not this way. And then it just helps you understand how things are made a little bit better.
Yeah, it's very eye-opening when you open up Marvel's Designer. And by the way, it's very easy software to learn. You would pick it up in a day, like a day of time, like a day, and you would be able to use it basically. Um, but it's very eye-opening when you try to create even something as simple as T-shirt. You quickly
Hmm.
realize like, wait, why it is so baggy where the tits are? Like even
Yeah, the
though
amount of engineering that it
yeah,
takes
it's
to put
and then you
together a
realize
t-shirt.
like, oh, okay, so you do a cut like this to remove the fabric from that specific area, and that's one of the reasons when you buy a T-shirt, it has those seams in that place.
Yeah.
It's like fuck, like I didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, and
very
it
eye
gives you like a
opening.
a huge appreciation for things like fashion, and things that aren't directly related to what we do, but
Yeah,
once you realize like the amount of work that goes into a garment, you're like, holy shit, like
yeah, yeah,
that's crazy. Like the way that it fits and like the way it moves on a person was all thought out. And like they're definitely things that most people maybe don't realize, that it was like designed with a purpose.
yeah, yeah. There's like everything has purpose. The most
Yeah.
comfortable clothes that you buy, and there's a reason why some clothes cost a lot of money, while others are cheap as fuck.
Right, yeah.
If it's not because of the brand name, it's usually because of the quality of the fit and everything. So
Yeah. Yeah, and
and the
how it
design put
moves.
into it. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. All right, let's get to some questions. I've been
Yeah,
a little
sure.
bit over time, including
Oh yeah.
the shitty freaking. I think it's my
Okay.
internet, dude. I'm gonna have to look into
Streaming.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, so anyone who's watching, you can help me out. Just fucking go on that Patreon, start start supporting, I'll get a studio with the proper internet. No, I'm gonna
A
fucking
full-on
put it.
production.
It's all for the down payment for that Bugatti, So
Why a Bugatti?
because
Because
Why
it's the
not?
most expensive?
exactly, why not?
Oh my God. Why not like an Aston Martin or something?
Nah, Bugatti.
All right.
All right, let's jump into some questions. Andrew, you've
Sure.
been
Yeah,
following
I
the
have
stream,
them
right?
all. There's a ton.
Ooh, let's do
Let's
this.
just go through them in order.
Yeah.
Luis asks, "What's the best way to not fall into an artistic block or lack of creativity?"
Yeah, I mean that's like usually when I get stuck, I'll just start looking at images or go back to the thing that you're interested in. Like for instance, if you're into like cars or something, or if you're into motorcycles, just start looking at photos of motorcycles to get you excited about something. And I think to get inspired is like you just have to find something that you're always excited about and something that you want to create or something like that. So I definitely will always go look at reference images or pick up a book or an art book, look at an art book and be like, "Oh, like I want to create something like this artist." And then, you do the research and get excited about it. So um that's what I would do for like personal work. Now, when it comes to like an art block for professional things, I would say just force yourself to do it. Like force yourself to power through. So
Yeah.
Right on. All right, next one is from Andy Kinshing Lee. He says, "Got any tips or advice for the brainstorm scholarship application? And are you a nice teacher?"
I mean, I guess I would be a nice teacher, but in terms of like tips for the scholarship, I don't really know what's involved for the scholarship at the school. That's something that you would have to ask James or John. But I mean, I guess I would just say just show that you're motivated and that you care about learning.
Show.
For show.
Camilo asks, "For someone coming from abroad, should I look for a certificate specifically in art if I want to work in the U.S.?" And I know you guys already
Yeah.
talked about
No.
like getting a degree, but it's different for international
Well,
people.
yeah, I mean, it is different, like with the
Yeah.
visa
Yeah.
situation and all that. So, I mean, I will say, when it comes to people abroad, it does help, to have some kind of an education because, and I'm saying this not because of the industry or anything like that, but more so the American government.
Yeah, it's the only reason. And we had the stream with
Yeah.
Alexandria Neonakis, and go back into one of the previous streams we had with Alexandria, and that was a lawyer as well. It was
Robert
actually,
Herrera
yeah, Robert
or
Herrera.
Herrera.
Yeah, Herrera. Fuck, he's probably like if he's listening to
Shame
this,
on
like
you.
it's like this fucker. Like I've spent my time to go on that stream, and like he's giving away this much. Like fuck. But anyways, listen to that because like it's some good advice from an
Yeah,
actual immigration lawyer there too. So
yeah,
we'll give you a good idea like what's the situation is. So
yeah. I wouldn't be the best to answer that, but from experience, I know that for the American government, like they do want to see some kind of um,
yeah,
unlike.
yes, you have to be potato. Changing all these days. Like I would say, if you want to move to United States, move here because of the quality of life you want to have, rather than
Yeah,
moving here because like you want to have a job.
yeah,
You could probably get by. If your mindset is I want to be really fucking good and I want to be the best
yeah,
in what I do. I want to be, I want art to be my mastery. If that's your attitude, you're gonna get by anywhere you live. It might
yeah,
be harder or easier depending, what you do, but moving to US is usually moving because of the life quality you want to have or specific reasons, Moving just for work, I don't think it's a good idea. It might be good if that work is very special and will propel your career and then, maybe free you up to do some better things, but yeah.
Or get you a Bugatti.
Or get you that fucking go on that Patreon, man. Like
Get
I'm
that
serious. You
Lambo.
just like
That
start
Lambo
start
dope.
start clicking that donations, and I'm gonna send you photos from that Bugatti in an
one
exchange.
lug nut at a
Just
time.
yes, exactly. I'm gonna
Uh,
I'm gonna Snapchat of me driving a fucking awesome car.
Oh my
all right,
god.
next question.
It's so bad.
Safir asks,
So
what was
bad.
your training routine before you got hired at Naughty Dog? How many hours did you paint per day?
Well, at the time, like, thankfully, like my parents are living, here in LA, so I was able to, be at my parents' place, and honestly, like, I didn't do anything but just like drawing and painting, and studying. So I would say any waking moment you have, like, definitely take advantage of it, because making a living and all that, and your time might be spent elsewhere. So I would say any idle time that you have, definitely take advantage of it. Uh, uh, so yeah, I mean, any free time you have. I mean, even when you do start working, like, I always find that, amongst us at work, like, when we go home, we're always trying to, like, learn other stuff, or work on our personal work and stuff like that. So it never goes away. So I would
Hmm.
suggest, yeah, use any time that you have to just get better.
Sweet.
Sweet.
Um, Another question is, Nick, do you have any chance to make new Gumroads or teaching at Learn Squared?
Oh yeah, dude. Oh
Oh
yeah.
man, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've
Busted.
definitely given
Now you have to answer.
yeah, now I have to
Been
answer.
dodging this
I've
question
definitely
forever.
been those
I'm joking.
things, a lot of thought, but unfortunately, like, right now, it's all just about time. And right now, I don't have the time to dedicate to it. But not to say that I'll never have the time, but maybe sometime in the future. I can't say when, but at this moment,
No
I'm not
pressure,
doing.
dude. Only 120 people asking. No pressure.
But yeah, sorry about that. It's just the time. I wish there was
No,
more
it's
time in
it's
the day.
all good, dude. I understand it completely, and it's just like as much as I gonna heckle you here, it's just, dude, it's up to you, man. Fucking
Yeah,
chill
I mean, I
out.
would love to. Don't get me wrong. Like, I would love to do it. It's just,
Yeah,
it's just hard to find time these days.
cool. Cool,
Yeah,
cool,
Mache's
cool.
taking way too damn long to make his own course.
Fuck yeah, because I can.
It's gonna be so good.
It's gonna be so good. Well, I've said this before, and some of you guys were asking, like, where's your next course? Like, I've covered so much
Yeah,
ground with Gumroads and my previous courses. I really have to create something that will not be repetitive. There's
sure.
only as much as you can teach in the field that I do. And I just don't want to create like crap that's going to be a rehash of something that's already been done. So that's
Yeah.
why it takes so long for me to think what this is supposed to be. So
Mm. Next question is, on average, how long do you take on your pieces?
Um, it probably. I mean, that all depends, and it's like circumstantial. Like, the day or as it goes through. So, and when it comes to like personal work, it's like I spend forever on it, because it's like I pick it up for like a few hours at a time. So it's hard to really say. But I would say generally, like, maybe, I don't know, like a day or 2 days. Um, but yeah, maybe, I mean, when it comes
all
to,
depends, right?
yeah, it all depends. It's like, it depends on what the niche it is. It depends on, like, what purpose it serves.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to answer, like, you know, and I'm not consistent with it. I mean, I'm consistent enough with it, but, like, to where I know how long it'll take me if someone asked. But again, it's specific to what it is.
Mm. All right, next question is, how much 3D are you using at Naughty Dog, and do you block and light the scenes in 3D or paint over? Sorry, it's like kind of
Yeah, no, it's all
perfect.
good.
Or paint over on the base meshes from level design, or both.
Yeah. Again, that's like circumstantial. So yeah, sometimes, like, maybe the game designer will come to us and say, okay, well, here's the level layout. The environment team needs help, like, with, how do we flesh this out? Like, how do we, like, what are all the details that are going to be in the scene?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in those cases, yeah, I'll use the 3D. I'll build on top of it. Sometimes I'll make my own 3D if there's something I can't figure out. Like, again, talking about, you know what we were talking about before. If there's something I can't figure out when I'm just drawing it.
How has teaching?
I always find myself reminding myself about um, like organizing my value structures. I mean, I don't know if that's like too specific, but I always come down to like I'm like, oh right, like how do I arrange my values? And I always talk about it in class. So therefore, like I'm always very conscious of that when I'm working. So it definitely helped me in that way.
Mhm. Sweet.
I mean, that's like one example, but yeah.
Yeah. Mache, what about you? Your teaching experience.
Um, I'll tell you this. So, one thing that teaching does to you is you realize quickly that your sometimes your students will be your teachers too. Like they will suggest you ideas that you never thought about. Another thing is yeah, as you Nick mentioned, you realize the holes in your system too, like the way you
Yeah.
explain things are might not be the right way to do it. But also like when you're preparing for a class, and you're about to teach something, you have to like go really deep into the that knowledge that you assume you already know. And I guess it's like easier if you just do a Gumroad, or just you fart out some ideas and there it is.
Yeah.
I not to say that Gumroads are bad. It's just like the format is it's just more mellow in a way. But what I'm trying to say is like, let's say if you're preparing a class for foundation, like we were talking about, I don't know, lighting or color, you have to go so deep into that topic that you now start to realize, oh damn, like I haven't think about this and that and that and this,
Mm.
so there's a lot of like self thought that goes into it as well. Uh, and one of the biggest things I would say is that you quickly learn to let go of the things you hold dear to yourself, like, oh, I'm not gonna share this knowledge because like people will start to copy me, but that's like the bad way to think about it, honestly, because then again, like you're gonna be in that spot, that comfortable spot, like I only hoard that knowledge, and nobody else can do it, but there's gonna be people that figure it out and they're gonna be better at it, and
Regardless,
yeah,
yeah.
and you're gonna be
Yeah,
stuck
and
in the same place, right?
yeah, yeah, and that other person might just
Be
tell
better.
like that other person's just gonna tell everyone anyway,
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly. And
so it's like don't be afraid, right? Like to share what you know to
yeah,
help, to help everybody out.
for me, it was Vitali mentioning the idea that because he released those Kid Bash pieces, and it was him talking with Ash on the Collective podcast, and Ash asked him a question like, "Yeah, like, what was the reason for you to do it? How, like, more or less." I mean, the question was probably different. I can't remember exactly, but what Vitali said is like you quickly learn to let go of things that you've already created, and you
Yeah,
feel almost like naked at the moment it happens, and it forces you to get out of that comfortable spot and learn something completely different and new.
yeah, yeah. It forces you, right,
Yeah,
to change it up. Like it forces you to be like, okay, well, I'm done with this. I'm gonna do something new now.
yeah, it's
You
the
know?
evolution. Yeah,
Yeah.
coo, coo, coo.
Cool. Um, did you mostly develop your skills by studying other artists or by studying nature? I think you talked about that a
Uh,
little bit too.
I mean, it's probably a combination of both. I mean, again, like there's not like one way to do it. Like you're going to be influenced by a lot of different things, but I will say that I did learn a lot from painting outside because I mean, of course, everybody's different, but myself, like I had the hardest time with color. Like I didn't understand it at all, and because I didn't understand it at all, I was like, well, I need to. The only way I can really learn it myself is to go outside and see how it actually behaves in reality.
Right.
So, I was able to just go outside and paint from nature. And I will say to this day, like that was one of the most helpful things that I had done for myself because, yeah, again, it just forced me to see how lighting actually works, and I became way more comfortable with it from the source. Like it was actually from reality, not like a skewed reality, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I would say that learning from nature definitely helped a ton. But not to say that that's the only way to learn. Like there's other ways, but it definitely helped me a lot personally.
Cool. We only have a couple more.
Sure.
If you guys have more questions, just post them up in the chat. Um, there's a new one in the chat actually that's interesting. What fundamental did you have the most trouble with, and what was the breakthrough or epiphany that got you through it?
Wait, sorry, can you repeat that? Repeat that again?
What fundamental, like, what which one of the
Oh,
fundamentals did you have the most trouble with when you were learning them, and what was the
yeah.
breakthrough
I
you had
think
to get through?
I think one of the most difficult things that I was trying to understand, well, I guess I did mention it before, was one was color, and number two was value keying. Like like uh like the value groupings of objects. Like I didn't know that each object had like a certain value range depending on like its local value. So like understanding local values was definitely like once I learned that, I was like, oh my God, like I get it now. You know, like my images became less terrible because I became more aware, and I was able to like actively uh kind of look for it in my own work. Like because when I was rendering things, I didn't know how to structure it in terms of value, like and materials. And I was always rendering things with the same material on like everything, and I didn't know that each material had a different value range. So I guess once I learned about that, it definitely made a huge difference in my work.
Hmm.
Sweet.
Sweet. All right, let's get one more question and
Sure.
get to the wrap.
Um, so I guess just one last question about your course at Brainstorm. From a range of like noob to pro, what's the average skill range for your World Building 2 class?
Yeah, I mean the average skill range is probably it ranges from like beginner to intermediate. Like I teach the class so that it's not too advanced. Um uh so a lot of times I'm always talking about just more fundamental types of knowledge and stuff like that, because Brainstorm does offer more advanced courses. Like I think Aaron actually is teaching the World Building 3 class, which is the class after mine. And in that class, Aaron talks about integrating more advanced techniques, whereas my class is more about like, okay, well, how do we make an image? Like how do we come up with an illustration with just Photoshop at our disposal, and
Mm,
then that becomes a stepping stone for like more advanced techniques.
sweet. Well, I guess Mache, if you want to wrap it up, then
Yeah, let's wrap it up, guys. I mean, dude, it was awesome to catch up with you. We should actually meet for lunch or
Yeah, man, you,
something.
you keep telling me that we're
I
gonna have
know.
lunch, and then
I'm
you
just
never have
like,
lunch with me.
I know.
classic Mache.
It's classic me. I never go out. I only work.
Dude, and the funny thing is, like, because we go to Santa Monica Seafood often,
It's
and we're like,
so
dude, Mache's
close.
like right there. He's like a block away. Like, where is this guy? Like, we need him over here.
Shh! Don't tell
Um,
anyone where I live.
they have no idea what that is. Everyone's like looking it up, like
Yeah, what the
satellite,
fuck?
trying to find like
All right,
what.
I'll track him down. Get like some weirdos at my house. I don't know.
Yeah, man, like we need to hang again because it's been
Yeah, for
far too long.
sure. Let's set up something. I'm pretty sure I can do something next week, so we'll do that for sure.
Nice.
Dude, thanks for coming. I know we didn't answer all the questions, but hey, like it's just only the amount of time we have for this, so just be sure you're there next time. For everyone who's watching, for everyone who decided to watch this later and managed to watch it all through, then thank you very much for this too. One thing I want to announce before we leave is this fucking beautiful, sweet, sweet mugs that are on sale right now. So I'm gonna post the link. It's
Was
the
that the Art Cafe mug?
no, it's the Showtime branded,
Showtime.
Showtime branded
Uh,
mugs. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Yeah, I was trying to set it up with Printful. So it's a fulfillment service, and yeah, I went through a couple of tests. Some of them were pretty shitty, so I just decided that the last batch that came in was pretty good. It's actually very good quality, the best so far. So there it is, guys. You can take it. You can
it's
take it.
awesome, man.
It ships
I wanna.
worldwide, by the way. So anywhere in the world you are, you will be able to get it. So get it. Get it. Cool. Dude, Nick, thanks again for your time. I know you were on the laptop so you couldn't paint, but
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah,
don't worry about it
yeah,
at all.
my motherboard like fried last week, so
Yeah,
I'm
someone asked what are we doing, like putting some, coconut oil on your chesticles or what?
Oh, Jesus,
Or
man.
what?
Yeah, man. So yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to like paint anything, but I definitely really enjoyed just chatting with you guys. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, thanks everyone for sticking around and watching because I know we had that technical difficulty. So
Yeah, we
yeah, thanks
did, and
again
I think
for
it's
coming back. And
it's it's something going on with my Wi-Fi. It's been pretty freaking good so far, but for whatever reason, like it just started dodgy, and I saw like bitrate drops during the stream as well. So there's definitely something with the internet. I might just need to like call customer service or maybe open that office. The community funded office. One day. No, joking, guys.
is
You
that the
guys,
ultimate
I'm
plan?
joking. I'm gonna do this anyways. I'm gonna just keep doing it because I have just a lot of fun having
Are
those.
you gonna become like the new Joe Rogan of
Dude, that would be
art?
so awesome to because like I already have a setup to do this. I did this with Bruce Straley
Yeah,
at Shaddy's place. That would be so awesome to actually be able to afford an office like this
yeah,
and just
yeah. To
invite
do it
people
live.
to be there, and fly them
Yeah,
in eventually. Maybe one day, maybe one day.
yeah, that'd be
I, I,
cool.
I joke about Bugatti, but the only reason I open up Patreon and all that is I want to improve the stream, but it's just like I at some point it's just only X amount of money I can put
Yeah.
into this versus maybe buying new toys to my daughter. So something I need to consider. I invest in it anyways because I love it and I love to have people like you and share all of that with everyone who's listening to it because it's just I've been doing this for what 2 years now. It's
Yeah,
53 episodes. There's like 10 episodes line up to happen next very soon. So yeah,
nice.
I would
Yeah, and
love
you
to
always
have you.
get like heavy hitters too. Like you're always getting like a lot of really cool
I
people.
try.
So
I try.
Like
I
Nick Gindraux.
like Nick
nah, man.
Gindraux,
What?
like the heaviest fucking the heaviest and the leanest as well. It's all the
Oh.
muscle mass. So
Jesus. See now like you see the numbers drive. Everyone's like leaving. They're like, oh god, gotta get out of
Abandoned
here.
ship.
yeah,
Yeah, man. But no, it's cool. Like like when you had Bruce over, like that was cool. Like getting people from other, aspects of what we do,
yeah,
is always really interesting to get someone else's take on it. And yeah, just seeing all the different perspectives
yeah.
is
I want
really
to try
cool.
as many industries as I can. Like it's slowly progressing. The more guests I get, the more likelihood of getting even better guests. Obviously, because reality is everyone is busy. And it
Yeah,
has to be something significant for some of the people to be able to join. Like,
yeah,
and that's just the reality of things. Like, if you would accept every single invitation for everything, you would just end up having no time for personal work or
yeah,
whatsoever.
exactly.
So I do respect that, and it's same to me. Like I do get requests as well, and I have to be really selective because anytime I accept something, I say no to something else. So um, yeah. Anyways, let's wrap it up, guys.
Yeah,
Dude,
sure,
I would love to have you back, and maybe next time
sure.
we could do it like I don't know at Shaddy's place, or we'll
Yeah,
see.
anytime, man.
Yeah, like in
Um,
person and get a
yeah,
dinner
that'd be fun.
after. That would be fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's do that.
Sick. Yeah, dude, anytime. And yeah, thanks again for having me.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks,
All right,
Have a
man.
good night. And till
All right,
the
night,
next
everybody.
one.
All right, bye.
Peace.